Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Let me share my screen. I don't think I'm sharing my screen. So, once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Um, Today's topic, just want to give a disclaimer that we record these calls and we place these recordings on our YouTube channel. So, if you're not comfortable with it, you may want to drop off now. And today we are going to be talking about a couple of Azure infrastructure service update. Um, One of those is the ability to do IP address management in Virtual Network Manager. And the second one is about enhanced VM health monitoring. So both of these we are going to be discussing. So first of all, what is the IP address management and why we need that? Okay. So as you know, VNET Manager is a service that allows you to manage all, the VNets in certain subscription. It can go across subscriptions and things like that. You can apply policies and all of the good stuff. Um, but one other thing that has just gone into public preview is IP address management. And why this is important? Because in larger organization, what happens is as you start creating applications, you are creating virtual networks, and it's hard to manage because like somebody created a VNet, they used a certain address space, another team created their VNet, they use the same address space, and then let's say they have to do some sort of hub and spoke model. Now you are in a pickle because there are overlapping address spaces. So it kind of raises issues. How about if you want a reserved set of IP addresses? What about that? In that case, that also becomes a challenge because you have to somehow manually enforce it. Hey, don't use that address space. And let's say somebody used that, then how you get it back. So all of these issues are addressed by um, the IP address manager management from Azure VNet Manager. So what you do is you start by creating IP address pools, and in that you can add IP addresses. Not only you can create IP address pools, you can set some seeders which are reserved. So you have allocated those for certain services, so you can mark them reserves. Okay. Or maybe they are already used by some application, so you don't want other application to use it before VNet Manager. You start using VNet Manager, so that's how you address that. Um, and in addition, what you can do is you can monitor how many IP addresses have been allocated in a pool and all of those things. And finally, it supports both IPv4 and IPv6 IP address. So that's a cool thing. Um, Second, these are some of the key feature. Number one, as I said, you can create IP addresses, address pools, assign IP addresses to it, and then allocate those to different Azure resources. And then you can give permission so other people can use those IP address. And finally, you know, simplify the management of IP address. And there are some issues. Just keep in mind, this is currently in public preview. So these are some of the known issues while this is going through a public preview. Got it? So that's that. So let's quickly, a question. Sorry. Somebody was, oh, sorry. I think somebody's in the lobby. Okay, please, folks, please feel free to let people in. If you see somebody waiting, I would appreciate if I'm not looking, you can let those guys in. Okay, so let's quickly do a demo. So I'm gonna go in here, and first of all, let me move this bar to the side. So the way you create it, you go into the virtual network manager. I already have a virtual network manager, so I go in and then this is your IP address pools. Okay, so I already have one. You can go in and you can create a new one. Let's say you call it test 01, very creative name, one, and it's in North Europe. You can, oh, by the way, you can have parent child. So you may have a parent pool. So let's say that you want to create a pool at the organization level. Okay. And then there are teams which are allocating these IP addresses and you want to give them access so they can create child pool inside the parent pool. Okay. So you can give them a set of IP address and they can use it. So that is also a that way to do that. So let's say you don't use a parent pool, and then you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna start from 10.10.0.0 and then 10.11.0.0. These are the two addresses that I'm gonna add to the pool. Next, and then you will just go ahead and you can go ahead and create that. Basically, that's how you will end up creating a pool. It will take some, a few minutes to deploy, but once that pool is created, what you can do is you can go in here in your okay, go to the resource. So this is your pool. So the pool has been created, and what you can do is you can first of all view pool matrix. Here you can see um, like how many IP address allocate percentage, all of that thing. But if you want to see it like from the overview, you can see it from here as well in the allocate. So allocate will tell you, do you have any static seeders, um, anything that how many child pools are there, how many resources, things like that. So what I can do is I can go in and let's say I wanna have some static CIDR. So I'm gonna call it reserved IPs, and I'm going to say 10.11.0, and I'm gonna say that this is gonna be like 27. So these IPs are reserved and they will no longer be used. So that's how I can address it. And then how is the VNet creation experience? So let's take a look at that. So if I go into virtual networks, what I can do is I can create a virtual network. And let me just go back here. And let me just go ahead and create it. In the meantime, please feel free to ask if there are any questions. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to use the existing one. Okay, here we go. Name it 3. Next, security. Okay, that's the interesting part. You see, allocate using IP address pool. So if I select it, it's going to ask me which pool you want me to use. So I can use any of the pool. Let's say I want to use this pool. That's 01. Save it, and it's gonna automatically, as you can see, not telling me the range. It's gonna automatically assign me a range. Hey, this is your range, and you go from there. So I go in, and here in the validation page, it's gonna tell me, okay, this is your range. You picked these 256 addresses, and let's create. So think of it. This is not exactly telling you, hey, these are the this is the range that or this is the IP addresses that you can pick and choose. It's allocating it for you, and that's very powerful in a sense that now the control is to the network administrators. They can, have those IP addresses and all that stuff, and then they can, assign. And you see, this one has 10.10.0.16 address space. So what we can do here is we can go in, and if we go into another subnet, we can say add another subnet, and once again it's coming from the pool 24, and it's going to add that the next subnet here. So very simple experience, kind of taking out of taking the administration out of your hand. It's now uh, in the hands of the administrator. They can control which IP addresses, are a block, kind of are no longer or reserved, so they can no, so nobody can use it, and which IPs you can use for your subnet. So that's kind of a quick explanation of this particular feature. Any questions, folks? Okay. So let's talk about the second feature that I want to we have in the deck, and that is VM Watch. So what is VM Watch? VM Watch, first of all, if you are aware of Azure VM Health, this is kind of sitting on top of Azure VM Health. So let me talk about a few, a little bit about Azure VM Health. So Azure VM Health is an extension that runs inside the VM, gives you the perspective in terms of the application running on the VM. Okay, so your question would be, okay, when I'm using a load balancer, it tells me that if the VM is healthy or not. The load balancer is checking the system health. Okay, it's the the kind of the actual operating system, is it working and things like that. So it's that stuff. This thing is checking the application health. So Azure VM Health, what it is doing is it is going in and it's checking. It's basically, think of it as a load balancer. What you can do is you can say, I want to use HTTP or HTTPS, and I want to check on a certain port. If I get, you can have either binary or rich health index. So let me just let's talk about it. So what you have is you have two states. You have binary versus rich health states. So in regards to binary, you have healthy, unhealthy. In regards to rich, you have healthy, unhealthy, unknown, initializing. And what's the point of it? So think of it. Let's say you're running an application on the VM, okay? And there's some issue with the application. If you're using a load balancer, it's gonna just ping the machine and say, yeah, the machine is healthy, I'm getting a reply back. But on the other hand, if you are using this VM Health, VM Health basically you can control. I mean, you can say, okay, if my application is up, I mean, I'm going to use this particular endpoint, and I'm going to say if this particular from this particular port, if I get a certain reply, I will say it is healthy. And by the way, if you see here, the reply has to be in the form of a JSON in the case of rich, or in the form of HTTP 200 in the case of binary, if you want to say that this VM is healthy. And by the way, you can use it for VM scale sets as well. So both VM scale set. So this is, think of it, this is kind of a native I mean, the application native support for health monitoring, and that's the beauty of it, that you can, you can customize this. You can have like a particular URL in your application. Let's say if you're running a web application, which kind of checks your application when it comes up. Yes, my application is healthy. and I'm gonna send a healthy, or you can say unhealthy. Let's say if you found out, oh, I can't connect to the database, or I can't connect to a service bus queue or something, or cannot reach out to a machine or some other resource. Oh, I'm gonna send an unhealthy signal to tell that my machine, my VM is, I mean, from the application perspective, is not healthy. Okay, so that's the kind of that's how this thing, Azure VM Health works. So as you can see, there are two states in the um, in the binary. You have the healthy state and unhealthy state, and in the case of binary, oh, by the way, it's supposed HTTP, HTTPS, and TCP protocol. Okay, so in the case of binary, it's just the HTTP 200. If there is there, you say that VM is healthy, otherwise it's not. Second is, if you have the response come application health state healthy, this is for the rich. You have to send a JSON response. Okay. And just to, um, and if there is no response, or it will say unknown, and you have to send the unhealthy response just like that. As you can see here, application health state is unhealthy in the JSON body to tell it, okay, yeah, this thing is not working. Okay. So that's kind of, this gives you a more detailed information. How you set it up, let's talk about it. So I'm going to, any questions so far, folks? So I'm going to go to my VM. This is my virtual machine. And the way I set up, I go into the operations, health monitoring, and here it is, rich. So I'm just going to show you the rich one. I mean, that's has more. So what you do is you set up the protocol. It can be HTTP, HTTPS, or TCP. Then you set the port, and it can be a complex path. Let's say that you're running an ASP.NET Core or whatever application you are running. There's a detailed path. Let's say there's a health page that you want to do. You can put all of that. How many unhealthy threshold it has to have, you know what is, if you have multiple threshold, what is the grace period, all of that you can set up. The grace period is in second, interval between probes is in, so if, let's say if your application takes some time to start up, you can manipulate these things to make sure you are not getting the wrong signal. Okay, so this is set up, and if I go back here, um, this tells me that this is, the status is unknown because I don't have any probes set up. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just for this demo purposes, I'm gonna go to this VM, and this is my virtual machine, and I'm going to show you, I have a very simple Node.js app there, okay, which is going to simulate my application, complex application running in this machine. And let me show you the code. And by the way, the code is just think of it as pseudocode. As you can see here, I am returning a um, healthy response from here. For the time being, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to unhealthy. Okay, so it is running, returning unhealthy response on port 8000. Just keep that in mind. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to run this now. Okay, so now this application is running, and remember we were seeing unknown. So let's refresh this page. Now it should show me unhealthy. Okay, so as you can see, it's unhealthy because it is specifically returning that JSON response back. So it is kind of checking the application. Oh yeah, the application is unhealthy. So now let's say that we fix the issue, and the our probe, it started working. And just for the demo purposes, we are going to go in and we are going to change it to healthy. Okay. And let's save it, and let's run it again. And and by the way, you have to refresh this page. So this is, and since we have, this is a demo, I just set the threshold to 1. So let's refresh it again. And look, the status is green. So it is healthy now. So that's one aspect of the VM health. What just have gone in public preview with VM Health is the VM Watch feature, which basically adds all of these signals in the VM Health. So what you have to do is, I mean, that is deployed with the Azure Health VM extension. Uh, these are all the signals that are available in this, like outbound connectivity. You have a DNS resolution. These are checks that their matrix segment retransmitted. All of these in different level, like network, CPU, and it's still coming through the standard, where the matrix comes in and all that. So there's nothing you have to do special to capture them. The only thing is you have to register the feature. So first of all, what you do is you register your kind of so register the feature, and I will tell you that this registration in my case it took like 15-20 minutes. So you just register and then wait, and once that is completed, then you wanna register the compute namespace one more time. So first register the feature, then register the compute, and then it should fully be functioning. And then once you have a VM, you have to run this command. This is basically uh, making the extension um, upgradable. I mean, what it does is you already have that extension, it's going to upgrade it. So if you have a new VM, it's going to upgrade that extension to the next level where this public preview is applicable. Okay. So for example, let me show you this. If we um, go into here, and if I go into the extensions and applications, you see, this shows me this is the health extension. If I click on it, this is application health Linux. Since I'm running a Linux VM, and if you are running a Windows VM, you will see application health Windows and things like that. Status is there. One thing definitely you want to check, go into the overview of VM, go into JSON view, and go all the way down, and that's where you have the health extension. So it will tell you VM watch settings, enable is true. It means that now it is collecting all the data, all the metrics that you want. They are being collected and all of that stuff. Okay. So this is, these are some of the things. Once you have it, you have the VM health, you have all the metrics, all of that. Just keep in mind that the VM watch a piece, which, you know, collects these matrix and logs and things like that, that is in public preview. Okay, I have a link at the end. You can take a look at it. So that is in public preview. The rest of the stuff is already running, already GA. And once you run this thing, you should have the application, uh, you know, um, your application health extension, and then you should be able to use it. And as you can see, all the settings here, yeah, so all of that stuff is kind of a built-in uh, that you can use and monitor your application. So any questions, folks? Yeah, so that's pretty much I want to discuss. So just a quick recap, the two key features that I wanted to talk. One, the Azure Virtual Network Manager IP address management. This feature is currently in public preview, which allows you to effectively manage range of IP addresses, reserve certain ranges for your organization, through it allows you to create IP address pools, and then um, you know app teams can use those pools to um, create their virtual network and use IP address from those pools, and you can have parent pool and child pools and all. Second part is the enhanced VM health monitoring. It's a part of Azure VM Health. The piece that we are talking about is Azure VM Watch, which is currently in public preview. VM Health, which kind of tells you about the application health on the VM, and it both allows you to do binary health check as well as rich health check. Binary is just healthy, unhealthy. Rich tells you more information about your application. It's either unhealthy, healthy, or unknown. So that's pretty much all that I want to discuss. Any questions, folks? Final call. Okay. There are no questions. Thank you very much for your time and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Have a great day and a rest of your day and a great weekend. Thank you.